invite our Member of Parliament for Rochdale, Mr. Rowen, to say his words and his vision about our community and how he wants to work towards the resolution of Kashmir conflict. I welcome and I invite Mr. Rowen, our MP for Rochdale.
Distinguished guests, gentlemen, young people, Assalamu alaikum. Can I begin by thanking the Kashmir Freedom Movement for organising tonight's meeting. It was President John F. Kennedy who said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." And I think when we talk about Maqbool Bhat, I think those words ring very true, because there is no greater sacrifice that anyone can give but that you give your life for your country. I am not a Kashmiri, it's not obvious, but as a Member of Parliament for Rochdale, as a Rochdalian, I understand and appreciate your struggle. Why? Well, my grandfather fought for freedom in Ireland. So when I see people being described as terrorists, it's often the case that one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. And I know that Ireland would not have been free had not my grandfather and others like him have fought for that freedom. And Kashmir is still fighting for that freedom. And I ask myself, is it possible for Kashmir ever to be free? I'd ask you to look at a small country in Europe called Kosovo. In the next few weeks, Kosovo will become independent. It will become free. That is a country half the size of Wales, and it will be free. It will be free despite the fact that Russia does not wish it to be free. It will be free despite the fact that Serbia, the country next door, still lays claim to it, but they've got their freedom. As Member of Parliament for Rochdale, I follow a long tradition, going back to Sir Cyril Smith, of MPs that have supported the Kashmir cause. And just as the gentleman earlier on said, you should ask yourself what you can do for Kashmir freedom. I ask myself, as your MP, what is it that I have to do? I believe Kashmir can become free, can become independent. It will not become free with Pakistan and India fighting over it and laying claim. They've fought 3 wars and neither of them have been successful. And the people of Kashmir's voice is still not heard. So what have I been doing? I believe there are lessons from history and there are lessons from other countries that shows how Kashmir can be free. And I've spent my time as your Member of Parliament actually working to that process. And the only way that Kashmir will be free is when the people of Kashmir are actively involved in making that decision. And that will not happen overnight. You have to work for that right. You have to work for that freedom. And again I use the example of what has happened in Northern Ireland as a way forward. And this time last year, I was in Islamabad at an international conference organised by the Institute for Strategic Studies, which had representatives of people from America, people from Europe, people from India, people from Kashmir and people from Pakistan that were discussing what we can do to bring that peace that people want. And the first thing you have to do, in my view, is you have to apply diplomatic pressure. You are all voters. You may be from Rochdale, you may be from Oldham, you may be from Blackburn. You have to speak to all the people who represent you and get them to be aware of the Kashmir cause and what it stands for. You need to apply pressure, as I'm doing, to the British government. India wants to be a member of the Security Council. As an up-and-coming power, and they say that in the next 10 years it will be the fourth biggest economic power in the world, they want to be a member of the Security Council. Britain, as a member of that council, can veto its application. I tell you now, if there was a vote tomorrow, Britain would vote for India to be a member. You have to apply pressure. I look and I see very influential people from the Indian community who have influence on this government. You have to exercise that influence. And you have to make it clear, and it has to be made clear to India, that Britain will only support a seat in the Security Council if India sorts out Kashmir. If India sits down and first of all allows its people, the Kashmir people, to be involved in bipartisan negotiations. Because India is very happy to talk to Pakistan, but they will not allow the people of Kashmir to be at that table. And you cannot have progress. You cannot have progress unless everybody is at the table. So you must apply that pressure. You must, like I've been doing, make it clear to this Labour government that we will not support India's membership of the Security Council until they have sorted out the Kashmir problem. That's the first thing. You need to put pressure on the British government, and I met Lord Malloch Brown, who is the Foreign Minister with direct responsibility for Indian and Kashmir proposals, and I asked him, if the British government had access to funds that can be used to fund multi-country discussions that can allow people across the line of control to work together. Because my experience of Ireland is that Ireland is not at peace now by guns, by war. It's at peace now because people across the border are talking together. And the Reverend Ian Paisley was in Dublin last Saturday. I would never at one stage have ever believed it would have been possible for him to travel across to Southern Ireland and meet the Irish government. The Indian government have got to remove the restrictions. They've got to ensure that at the moment is that only 20 people a day can cross the bridge. You have to have free movement, you have to have free discussions, and you need to allow people amongst themselves to begin to see that what they have in common is much greater than what separates them. That is a long process. But if you look at what happened with Ireland, with Northern Ireland, that peace has been made possible because people said they want it. I was in a conference in our Parliament last November, and we had a representative of the Indian-held Kashmir government speaking at that conference. Some people said he should not have been allowed into the country because he had murdered people in Indian-held Kashmir, or he was responsible for that. I disagree with that. If we had said, if the British government had said, we are not going to negotiate with the IRA because they have killed Protestants, Northern Ireland would still be at war. The communities there would still be fighting. If we are to have genuine peace in Kashmir, we have to involve everybody. And that means freedom fighters, politicians and people. I pledge myself, as your Member of Parliament, to work for that process. I'm a member of the All-Party Kashmir Group, and as Adela knows, we do work across the three political parties. We do work for this common goal. Your role, if Maqbool Bhat's death is not to be forgotten, is to make sure that you are working for that same ideal, that you are applying pressure, that you are asking the awkward questions, as a British government can play a huge role in bringing about peace. If nothing else, if it vetoes India, it will make a statement. You can exercise that pressure, do so, and you will see an independent and free Kashmir. Thank you.